Good morning. Did everybody have coffee? Ready to go? No coffee. I didn't either. I had a Diet Coke this morning. So. My name is Koch. I am the Director of Recruiting for Progressive Insurance. So this is what I do every single day. I've got a team of about 36 recruiters that report into me across the country. So my folks, and a separate team of people that simply does like candidate search. So we almost have our own little exclusive firm within our company that acts like headhunters, and where they spend most of their time all day, every day, is on social media. So my goal, this will be very informal. I don't have big PowerPoints, things like that, because quite honestly, what I found in this space is it's still new enough that you all are sort of going, okay, where do I even get started? And what do I use this for? I think seems to be the biggest question. So I have information I will share with you, but I also want to make sure I'm answering your questions, because to be honest, like if you've not been in there, you may be at the where do I start? And I also don't have a good sense of how much your career growth, your career departments are doing with teaching you online media. So that seems to vary school by school. So let me start with the obvious. How many people have a LinkedIn profile? How many have a well-done LinkedIn profile? Like it actually has information? Okay, pretty good. I will tell you, I think it's been less than 5 years since when I first asked that question I was in a seminar and I asked if people had LinkedIn profiles. The entire room looked at me like, what in the world are you talking about? So that's how new LinkedIn is. And it might even be less than 4 years since the first time I had to ask that question. And everybody was like, what is that? What is that? Like writing down fast and furious. So LinkedIn is a very new tool from a social media perspective. There are a lot of things out there. People will talk to you about Facebook and Twitter and all those things from a job search perspective. If you can nail LinkedIn, don't worry about all the rest of it. LinkedIn is by far the most common place that the employers are working from a recruiting perspective. And the reason that they're working in that space is because the feedback that we get and the interaction that we get on Facebook and Twitter is that, particularly Facebook, most individuals don't like employers in their Facebook space. So we may have a Facebook page for your school, and you should look to see if your employer of choice does and like it, because they might put announcements out there saying they're coming to campus, so it will be informative from that perspective, but you're not likely to have an active recruiter working a Facebook account and communicating with you through that. It's just uncommon because most students don't want us seeing your Facebook profiles, so we stay away. Same thing goes with Twitter. It's a good idea if you're comfortable with Twitter and you're already using it. Companies are there's new tools out there that allow companies to very quickly post a job and link it to their Twitter and their LinkedIn and Facebook accounts. So they're pushing information out through Twitter, but they're not doing as much like get that in-person connection. So if you're looking for information from an employer about what's open, what's new, what kinds of things they're looking for, their Twitter connection or their Twitter account can help you. The reality is where you're really going to make your connections is through your LinkedIn profile. So you need to have it be really, really good. I will tell you, that's what I said, most alumni actually need to be in here, even more than you all do, because many of you raised your hand when I asked if you had a LinkedIn profile. Many alumni do not. So keep that in mind as you're networking with individuals at these events. Like, you're going to be a little bit more hit or miss on what their LinkedIn accounts look like. I have to admit, even mine isn't all that great because I do all my LinkedIn from a professional perspective through my recruiting staff. So even my own, I just haven't spent the time to do it because I luckily have not had to do a job search in a very long time. But when you do your LinkedIn, make sure you've got a good picture on there. If you're not comfortable with and it should be a professional picture. This isn't like your roommate, your roommate snapped a picture at the party last night and you use that. Professional picture doesn't mean you have to pay a lot of money for it. I'll be honest with you, put on your suit and your tie, or women put on your business suit and have your roommate take a picture with a nice camera that just shows from here up with a clear background behind you. It does not have to be like go out and spend a lot of money on it. Just make sure that it does look professional and it represents you in a professional manner. If you're not comfortable putting your picture out there, which is okay, not everybody wants their picture out there. If you're not comfortable with that, come up with something that represents an important piece of information about you that people would connect with. Things like, if you're connecting with employers on campus, things like your school logo can work because they'll remember you based on your campus. Things associated with Delta Sigma Pi. If the individuals that you're networking with are Delta Sigs, it's another way to connect. So we find our managers, particularly when we try to push them to get on LinkedIn, we really don't want their picture out there, so we give them alternatives of ways to get their information out there without it being quite so scary as their picture. So a couple of things to do there. Once you have, so now you guys also, many of you said you have a LinkedIn profile. For those of you that do you use it? How many of you actually actively use it? Yeah, this is what's happening with LinkedIn profiles. We have them and we sat down one day and we did it and it looks all nice and pretty, and then we go, and now what do I do? The key with LinkedIn profiles is to get involved. You don't have to spend hours and hours, but you do have to spend time in your LinkedIn profile. You need to go out and do searches for individuals that you know, and you need to connect with them in some sort of active way. And when I say active way, that doesn't just mean, hey, link in with me. Share information through your LinkedIn profile on a regular basis. So you read an article that was particularly pertinent to your industry. You read an article on a great employer that you're looking at. Post those things so that the individuals in your networks are seeing your level of engagement. Post things like, I spent my day today at a Delta Sig event, so that again, people are seeing you actively involved with things that relate to your professional interests. That's what you're supposed to do with your LinkedIn. If it just sits there stagnant, even if you have 500 connections, it will do you absolutely no good. And you'll go, well, I'm glad I spent that time doing the profile. So you need to be actively engaged. And typically I tell folks, the more actively engaged you are, particularly in sharing information out, versus always asking for things back. Sort of that the more you give, the more you will get in return because people will see your active involvement. That's really what you want to do. So keep your eye out for articles that are relevant for your industry. Use those as key jobs that you see. You can share jobs for other companies. Say, hey, I know some of my networking friends are looking for this. Here's a neat job to think about. People will keep you in mind when they're trying to network on the back end. So that's one of the ways that you can use LinkedIn. The other way you can use LinkedIn is to join groups. How many people have joined a group on LinkedIn? Okay, got a few. The key is, again, if you're in groups and then you're sharing this information, then you're starting to leverage those groups. You want to join groups that match the kinds of interests that you have. So most companies will have groups, so you can search for companies with particular groups. Delta Sigma Pi has a group, so again, it's going to show that affiliation. Most of your business organizations and schools, like I know the Hispanic Business Association has a group. Some of the even smaller chapters at schools now have started creating groups. Those are the kinds of things that you want to join, and you want to join them for two reasons. One, that's where recruiters are going. So my recruiters spend most of their time trying to identify groups that would be relevant for the kind of people that they're trying to hire. And then we join the group, and then we post our jobs out there to say, hey, by the way, my company's looking for XYZ. And that's how we find them. So it's easier for a recruiter, who is the person you ultimately want to get in contact with, especially if you're looking to get into a large company. If you're going for a small family-owned company, then you got to have the direct network. But for the larger companies, you just need the information because so much of what they do is online. You just got to figure out what they're looking for and how to get in the door. So those groups can really help you from that perspective. The other thing is make sure that your profile has a lot of the keywords that somebody looking for that background would use. So, for example, if you're looking, if you're an accountant, there's probably, if you look at 5 or 6 accountant descriptions, there's sort of those same words that come up in every job description, right? You can kind of get a sense of it. You probably want detail-oriented in there somewhere, right, if you're an accountant. Experiences that they might be looking for, things like internships, those types of things. You want that in your profile, because here's a trick. Recruiters don't just look at the people that they're linked with from LinkedIn. What we do is we write search strings behind the scenes. We write search strings that say, give me any individual that lives in St. Louis that has these keywords in their profile. And I mean, some of these are really complex. It's almost like an X-ray system of all of these people's profiles. And then LinkedIn will give us, and then we can get the results back, and those are the people that we're looking at. So if the keywords are in your profile, you got a better shot of coming up in my search, and that's where I'm going to get your information. So keywords are really critical. People always ask, where do I figure out the keywords? Easiest way to do it is to go online for the kind of job that you're looking for and read through a series of job descriptions. Go through 5 or 6 different companies' description for that job and figure, like I actually tell people, take out a highlighter. Take out a highlighter and highlight the words that come up in every single one, and those words better be in your profile somewhere, because that's how they're going to actually find you. So sometimes it's not about connecting one-on-one, although like events like today, you meet somebody, you absolutely should start that connection, because you don't know if they're active on LinkedIn, you have no idea how valuable that could be. They may link you to your next employer. But in addition to that, the efficient way to use it as a student is to make sure that you're coming up in keyword searches, you're joining groups that are going to attach you to the right people, and then actively share information so that your posting is up to date, your profile is up to date, and that you're pushing information out. If you're part of a group and you're an active member of that group, you're far more likely to sort of surface for that recruiter who's working that group, and they're more likely to look at your resume. Make sure you do have, there's 2 things you want to make sure you do in LinkedIn. There's a little checkbox on your profile that says, yes, I want to be contacted for jobs. Make sure you click that. I know that sounds really simple and basic, but I actually work for a company. If you have not checked that box, we are not allowed to call you, because we have a very strict line on we don't headhunt. So if you haven't said, yes, I'm interested, we aren't allowed to call you, which is really crazy. We're trying to change that rule. We think it's dumb. But make sure you've done that. The other thing is make sure you have a very good resume. Attached to your LinkedIn profile, you can upload your resume. So in addition to your profile, make sure you've got your resume there. The new applicant tracking systems, which are the online systems that our recruiters work in every day, they are now getting software that make your lives easier. So if you've got a LinkedIn resume and a LinkedIn profile, our applicant tracking system, when I search and I find you, it will automatically upload that information from your LinkedIn page, and now you're in my applicant tracking system. Isn't that wonderful? It was such a nice, he's like, oh, I've had to do that. Yes, the companies are getting sophisticated about how to tie this all together, but that does a couple of things for you. First of all, what it does immediately is it saves you a lot of time and a lot of effort. But the other piece that it does is, if I find you for this job, and we connect and we're talking, but you don't end up getting that role, you are now in my applicant tracking system. And my recruiters know if they have not run a search in our applicant tracking system before they spend money to source, like, they might as well just like slit their throats, because somebody sooner or later is going to strangle them for it. So you need to get into that company's applicant tracking system so people can find you, and you need to do it easily. So that LinkedIn profile is really important for that as well. So those are some of the kind of easiest things to do. And then networking is critical. You meet somebody, you need to connect with them, ask them, what opportunities might you have? This is an important one, if you're networking with folks that are my age, you might want to not just link in with them, but you might want to ask them how active they are on LinkedIn, because there are a lot of people who still, especially alumni, who haven't gotten all that active in LinkedIn, so you might connect and then they're not doing you any good. So ask, 1, can I connect with you on LinkedIn? Are you active, or is there some other way that would be easier for you to network with me? So especially think about that today as you're meeting a lot of folks. That may be just, don't assume that I linked in with them and so now I'm going to be able to move through it. Some of them don't know. You might have an account, they don't know how to use it. So, and I can say that because we literally right now are training every single manager in our company on how to create a LinkedIn profile. And I have people kicking and screaming and crying that we are making them do this. So, but we're doing it for exactly that purpose, because that's who we send out on campus, is our managers. And then they go into these events and these job fairs, and people are so excited. They're like, can I reach out to you on LinkedIn? And our managers go, link what? I'm sorry, I don't understand. So companies, if you're finding companies are a little slower to get in, that's kind of why. They're getting their managers up to speed on some of this stuff. So. Let me stop there for a second, because that was a lot of information on LinkedIn. What questions do you guys have about LinkedIn that I haven't talked about yet? What are you guys running into? Any struggles?
Would you say that for posting it would be probably once a week? Because you don't want to be too
Yeah, you want to be really smart. Once a week is good. Even once every other week is okay. You just want to like make sure that it's fresh and it's new. The other thing is, the more you're sharing, if you do it more frequently than that, just make sure you're sharing out. You don't want every post to be going, I am looking for a job in St. Louis, anybody know anybody? It's sharing information. Hey, here's something I learn new about my industry. Has anybody run into this? Get people talking to you. The people that are really good on LinkedIn will respond to a question like that where you've shared but you're asking for information back. And then you're already in the conversation with them and you can start to engage. Any other questions on LinkedIn?
Comment. I've
Yeah,
seen a couple
yourself.
of references, seem to help, to put those out there if you've worked with someone before or someone before. But then recently I've been seeing, I forget the name, but there's something that, like you're saying, there's keywords that you've put in about who you are, and then it'll see it's popped up that someone who I know has said, oh yeah, she does a good job of that. What's that called?
I can't remember
But
which.
She's basically backing you up for that, saying, you know,
Yeah.
somebody I used to work with says, yes, she's a great job. She does a great job at that.
It's
And
kind of
that
their new
seems to-
reference approach.
Yeah.
Because their references people were getting really bogged down in their reference approach.
Okay.
And so I think it's what they've created to try to keep that reference piece.
So I've got a couple of those, and that was a nice nod, you know, from someone, and I'm assuming that the recruiters see that.
Yeah, they do, and it's interestingly, different recruiters like weigh in more heavily than others on references, so it depends a little bit on the kind of job. I think if you're going for more niche type roles, definitely they're weighing in on those, and they're taking a look at those so they can be really helpful. The other piece is, you know, when you're trying to connect with somebody, particularly that might be more than one step away, you know, help that, you know, you see somebody that you're like, wow, they work at the company I want to work at, and look, we have this mutual friend, for lack of a, you know, easy word, like we have this mutual friend. Reach out to this individual and say, you know, here's why I'm trying to connect, but have a really good elevator speech for what that sounds like. So not just, hey, I'm trying to get into that company, can you connect me? It needs, you know, you need to make sure, especially depending on how well you know that person, you need to make sure, just a short, I always tell people, write your email and then save it in a Word document so you can copy and paste it a million times every time you need to use it for LinkedIn. But, you know, when you send them that connection request, use like a very simple couple of sentences, clean, crisp, well-spelled, grammatically correct statement that you can say, here's why I'm trying to connect with this person and here's what I bring to the table, so that when they send the connection request to their friend to help put you together, there's some reason, it's not just a blind request, there's some connection piece. But I always think about, you know, the cover letter conversation that Don is doing this afternoon. You know, cover letters are not as common in your world today. They're going to work for some jobs and not others. But what you need to replace what was our cover letter version is that short paragraph that just says, hey, don't forget we met at this event and here's my information that you requested, and it's well written, because here is one of the things that we are seeing from college students. You all are very used to writing in less than 125 characters, and you type that way when you write to us. So I am finding that my college recruiter called me the other day, and he's like, are you kidding me? Like, I got 5 words, and I thought that was a complete sentence. So, and he's a lot younger than I am, so a lot more tolerant of that. So make sure that it's a very well-written paragraph. You will stand out in comparison to your peers, because not everybody can write a paragraph that's clear. And that can be used for LinkedIn, for any other tool that you're using when you're connecting with folks online. Couple other things. So that LinkedIn, like I said, spend most of your time there. If you're really good at Twitter and you're active anyway, it'll start to come. They just came out with a new tool called Bullhorn that is great for employers, that allows us to post a job and post to LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook accounts all at one time. So you're starting to see Twitter get more pickup from a lot of employers, because we can do it through Bullhorn. Previously, we had to go to all 3 accounts, and we were like, it's not worth it. Everybody's using LinkedIn. We're going to go to LinkedIn. So you will see more postings that way. Couple of things related to your social media work. I'm assuming everybody have a Facebook page? Who's Googled themselves in the last 30 days? Yeah, something you want to be doing regularly. I would recommend 2 things. First of all, set up your Facebook page so no one can tag you in a photo without you accepting it first. Because the last thing you want, most employers are not doing this, thankfully. They're not going out and looking at your Facebook pages. Any large company with a good HR department is not allowing the managers to do it, but it doesn't mean it's not happening. And at the end of the day, you do not want to get tagged in a photo that is inappropriate and have it show up on your Facebook page without you knowing about it. Because as soon as you do, of course, that's when your employer is going to go take a look. So most of them are not doing it, especially during the job search phase of things. Even in background checks, that's not typically what they're doing. But always keep it clean because you're just better off. You never know when mom's going to have a friend who also happens to be your friend, and that's embarrassing too. So be careful of stuff like that. The one thing I always tell folks, especially for anything you're doing online, have a good email address. And I don't mean good like it works. I mean, don't have hotchicks@gmail.com. You laugh, you would not believe the email addresses we see, and there's nothing less professional than I get your resume and I want to contact you, or you contact me and Hot Chicks comes across the email address. We don't, it's not like when we're looking at the resume, the first thing that hits us is, oh, look at that inappropriate email. But we do send a lot of email communications back and forth to people, and it never fails. All of a sudden you're like, seriously, somebody thought that was a good idea. So if you have your fun email address, that's great. Just have a professional one as well. And leave the Hot Chicks email address at home. That's one of the nicer ones I've seen. No inappropriate 4-letter words, please. You'd be amazed at what people do. So a couple of those things to keep track of. Do Google yourself on occasion. I usually tell people about every 30 to 60 days you should Google your own name to see what comes up. Because that will usually indicate, if you've got something out there you didn't want out there, you can clean it up that way, and you can make sure that the employer isn't the first person that found it. There are a couple of background check companies that will Google candidates as part of the candidate search. They're not the more reputable ones, but that doesn't mean companies aren't using them. So just know what your profile looks like is always the key. And the other thing I just tell you in general, and I have to share, since I clear background checks for my company on a daily basis, I will share one very important piece of knowledge. Be really smart in college, and don't do things that you're going to regret later when it comes to trying to get a job. Many, many companies now are doing full background checks, which includes criminal searches, and things like DUIs and misdemeanors and getting caught for underage drinking and all of that kind of stuff that we all did when we were in college as well can really come back to haunt you because it can keep you from getting the job that you want. So do smart things because it's the right thing to do, but do smart things too because sometimes there's not a time you ever want to have to explain marijuana possession to your employer 2 days before they're making you a job offer. 5? Yep. So think about things like that, be smart, and don't think like, oh, this won't have an impact in my life. It's amazing what comes back. And more importantly, if you have had an issue in your life where there is a court record and they've told you, oh, don't worry about it, it was expunged, I would recommend before you start your job search, actually hire somebody through, there's all these background check companies, have somebody go through and actually run that for you to make sure it is actually expunged. Because a lot of courts tell you they expunge records and yet they keep them on file. I have had people in their 40s and 50s apply for a job and they're like, oh, it was expunged. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what they tell you, but they don't really do it. So if you have something in your records, make sure you're aware of it. And that seems weird for a social media discussion, but I got to tell you, your online stuff is really critical.
Yeah, I was going to say, what is the easiest way to go about that? I mean, how would you go about contacting someone?
Yeah, I usually tell people go back to the attorney that helped you with that case. Okay. Particularly, go back to that attorney and ask them, hey, they'll have somebody who can rerun it for you and actually show that it was cleared. Because if they tell you that and it's not, you can still get it cleared up and the employer will hire you, but it may have left an impression. So you want to be careful of stuff like that. And then the other piece that I usually share on background checks that does relate to your online work is, and this is so crazy, do not graduate college and not pay library fines, parking permits, things like that. I just had a student 2 weeks ago We were ready to extend an offer. All we had to do was verify his college education. He supposedly graduated in May. We called and the school said, we are unable to verify his degree. And he said, but I have the piece of paper I walked through. And they said, we are unable to verify his degree. He has parking tickets. He didn't get an offer. So do not think that that parking ticket for $30 is like so long gone. It matters. Companies are verifying that what you have said is, I have a college degree. And if the school says, no they don't, for whatever reason, it will make a difference with employers. So, because it becomes an integrity issue at some point as well. So just make sure, like think about, when you think about social media, think about it not only in terms of how do I use it to find a job, but think about it broader than what could keep me from getting a job. Because your online profile, we didn't have online profiles when I was in school. Like, you could keep all your skeletons in the closet and nobody was going to know any better. Things have changed dramatically for you all, so you need to be really smart about what that online footprint looks like for you. But the other tips and tricks I share as a employer, like, it killed me to have to tell that gentleman, I'm sorry, we can't extend an offer. So, over a parking ticket. So, hopefully that is helpful for you all. If you have other questions and so forth, you do have, I think, a little bit of time before your next seminar. I'm available, and I have like a weird schedule today. I have this one, I have a 1 o'clock, and I have this, a 1:30 and a 3 o'clock, and I have nothing in between. So if you had a question and it didn't get answered, feel free to stop me, because I will be sitting around twiddling my thumbs, I think. Although somebody said they were sending me on a coffee run, so. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys. You took something away, and let me know if there is anything else that you would have liked to know. Let me know, and I'll add it in for this afternoon. So thanks, guys.